We're here with Melissa and Mike Fitzgerald at the Grassroots Institute. Guys, can you tell me a little bit about the Grassroots Institute, what they're all about, how you guys get started, and why you do what you do?
Sure. Yeah, well, we started the school, Melissa and I, 5 years ago, and we started in Quincy Center. And we started the school because we see that our community really needs help figuring out medicine and getting away from Western medicine. And we have a long history of cannabis cultivation recreationally, and then moving to medical in California, in Maine, and several different states. Wherever we've gone, we've seemed to go to medical states and try to do our best. We do this because we had several friends that contracted the AIDS virus in the 80s, and we lost a lot of friends. In the beginning of this, in California in 1996, this never would have been passed if it weren't for the gay community, and the fact that 1 in 5 people died from wasting syndrome, which was caused by the AIDS virus. The only reason this was passed in California was for that medical severity that was happening. 20% of everybody who contracted the AIDS virus before there were AZT cocktails, and now they're newer ones, died. So this bill was passed. We were watching this. We lost multiple friends to something that could be stopped. And then we saw that I'm a good grower, and we would have excess medicine. And we saw that we could share and still have an abundance for ourselves, done properly. And we just see the cannabis pulls the mask down from everything that's going on out there. We can see behind what's happening. I don't want to live in a world where I'm not friendly with the people around me. I want to make this movement and this medical movement a peaceful, sharing community movement that involves their health. Not selling a pharmaceutical product, but talking to somebody about their health. How are you today?
So you discovered that cannabis and the compounds of the cannabis plant are beneficial to the human body, and I mean, back in the day, everybody just smoked it. So for those that are just discovering the cannabis and the marijuana, you know, I know there's different names for it, you know, reefer, weed, you know, hooch, you know, all those cool names from the past. But you know, for some of us, we don't know when you say medicine, what is it about that makes it a medicine that would be beneficial to my human body?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And cannabis has been really misunderstood for a long time. It's misunderstood because it can play a paradoxical role inside us. And let me explain what I mean by that. In nature, we have 2 chemicals in our body all the time. Like dopamine is made by the system, or serotonin is made by the system. Cannabinoids are made in our system already. You do not ever have to have had cannabis in you to have the exact same 2 chemicals that are called anandamide and 2-arachidonoglycerol. They're a neuron transmitting impulse that goes through our body. They're located and made on demand in our body, in our neurological system, in our brain. The plant has phytocannabinoids, plant cannabinoids, the exact same chemical substances that are in our bodies without using cannabis. Since man came out of the ocean, we've had an internal, what we call a cannabinoid system. It was actually named after the plant because the plant has been here for thousands and thousands and thousands of millions of years. And we're just discovering that it has so many benefits to the body. So it was named the endo, meaning internal, cannabinoid system. Phytocannabinoids from the plant interact with our own neurological producing chemicals, and we can bolster a hardwired system. This system is hardwired into us. We're all born with an endocannabinoid system. Some of us have one that's more developed than others. Some of us are born with a weaker immune system than others. So what we're finding out is we take the phytocannabinoids, plant cannabinoids, and ingest them. We bolster our own internal cannabinoid system, our endocannabinoid system. So we're just taking an outside source of a system that's already in us and bolstering our own, adding to it. And we're finding that the endocannabinoid system is the main controller of all systems in our body.
So you would say that the human body is deficient in this cannabinoid. So basically you're saying is we need to feed our endocannabinoid system to assist our body in becoming more healthy? Is that what you mean?
That is pretty much it, yes. Yes, we can. Some of us don't have enough anandamide and 2-arachidonoglycerol being produced in our bodies. These are things that lead to all kinds of things like motion sickness to what we believe fibromyalgia. We believe fibromyalgia in the cannabis community. We believe fibromyalgia is a endocannabinoid deficiency. The nerves are acting all strange and this and that. All things are controlled by the cannabinoid system. Gastrointestinal tract, urinary tract, your heart, your blood pressure, everything. It's the modulator of all the other systems in our body. And the thing with the cannabis plant is, it's like a thermostat. It's the only plant that will come into our body and act as what is called a retrograde messenger, meaning it will send a signal, and then a signal comes back to the brain saying whether it's working or not working, whether it should produce more and send more signals or slow them down. So in an epileptic situation, we would inhale some cannabis or ingest some cannabis, and the endocannabinoid system would send out a signal saying, slow down them electrical impulses, slow down them electrical impulses. If things need to be speeded up, it has the same ability. It will say, speed that up, heart, or speed that up, system. It can change and vary in the body. It's one of the only systems that can do this.
So now I read about, a little bit, I was trying to learn about this industry because it's very interesting to me. What can you tell me about the CB1 receptors and the CB2 receptors and the difference of the two?
Okay, CB1 receptors are found mainly in the brain. The CB2 system is found in the peripheral organs.
What does the CB stand for? Cannabidiol? Is that...
Cannabinoid receptor.
Cannabinoid receptor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, think about that for a second.
It's your receptor.
Yeah.
And they've
No one's
actually
ever asked me that before.
they've located several others, but they just
I like that.
They've located several other sons, but they're still known by a string of numbers. So it's your cannabinoid receptors. 2 have been identified, but 3, 4, and 5 I think are already on the shelf.
Yeah.
So those receptors are receiving the compounds from the plant and giving instructions to my cells?
Yes, what it is we have a receptor that is on the surface of our cells, all over our body. The endocannabinoid system is mainly in the brain. 4 areas of the brain, the endocannabinoid system is the largest system in the brain. Most people don't realize that, but when you use cannabis and you realize that you can have such euphoric effects, it's centrally located there. That's the CB1 receptor. CB2 receptor is in peripheral organs. So when I say to somebody that has diabetic neuropathy, that I can hit the bottom of your feet with a cream, I'm going to be hitting a cannabinoid receptor that is actually on the cell surfaces of the ball of your foot. We don't have to go just to the brain. We can inhale, ingest, and things will get there, but we can use this as a topical and treat all kinds of different situations that are happening. So what I like to see is, the way we know that this is working is the National Institute on Health did a 5-hour CAT scan on a gentleman. They took low-level THC and they injected it into the patient and did a 5-hour CAT scan, and we get to see where all of these systems light up because we used a radioactive dye. So we followed the radioactive dye, and as we knew, the areas of the brain lit right up, beautiful colors. But then we saw the T cells in the spine, in the blood in the spine is full of receptors. We saw the bottoms of the feet full of receptors. The liver is full of cannabinoid receptors. So when we ingest cannabis and it goes through the liver, it is lighting up and becoming what is called a metabolite hydroxy-11, which works differently in the brain, goes through your system differently, and it delivers a medicine that controls every other function in your body. So what we see is it's not just in the brain, it's in the CB2 system, it's in peripheral organs, it is in your kidneys, it's in your liver. There are cells all over the body. So when we say to people we can deal with different areas of pain or different areas of the body that you're having trouble with, we know now that the receptors are right there. And it's a matter of getting the medicine to those receptors in the right form. Smoking is generally not the right form. Ingesting your medicine is usually better than smoking. We don't recommend smoking, we would recommend vaporizing. But then we would definitely recommend edibles for more severe health problems.
So I heard an expression once that somebody, as I was learning this industry a little bit, they said, when you get a pizza delivered, you don't eat the box, do you? You eat the goodness inside the box, right? And they say that the cannabis plant is kind of like that pizza box where it holds all the goodness on the leaf. But why would you smoke the leaf when you can just get the goodness off the leaf, right? There's multiple ways to do that.
Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
I had another question because I came across this as I was starting to learn about the CB1 receptors, CB2 receptors in the body. They were talking about a blood-brain barrier. And what does that mean?
Well, the blood-brain barrier, there are lots of cancer drugs that don't pass through the blood-brain barrier, never entering the area that is needed to get to. A lot of the cancer drugs don't actually,
Right.
and we're finding this out from our patients now because they're coming in and saying to me, the doctor actually said that they don't, that this isn't going where they even wanted to get to, and we don't know how to get in there. But
Now, you were
the
assisting.
cannabis plant goes right through that barrier, no problem, because it's a natural part of our body.
We learned a lot of that from Aaron Matthews' mother, Holly, because he was a brain cancer patient and she had a lot of direct information from her doctors who would tell her that the medicine that they were handing her wouldn't cross the blood barrier for Aaron, yet he should still take them.
Now, was he, I heard a story, and I think I read something, you guys were actually assisting the family with medicines or guiding them with the knowledge about the medicine, and they started to put Aaron on a regimen because I heard he was pretty close to passing because of how bad his body was failing and the tumors in his brain. But you were able to educate his mom, and you've done fundraisers to help these people because you give to your community. It's incredible what you guys do. But I just saw him out front, and he was walking with no assistance of anything, no tubes going into his head or anything. He wasn't in a wheelchair. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure.
It's amazing.
Aaron's mom called us a couple of years ago, and she had just heard about us at another place. And on the phone, she said that she had her son who had cancer since he was 18 months old, and he was just diagnosed for his third time and had been put on an experimental cancer medicine, which actually grew his tumor faster. And they had been told that at the very best they would give him 2 more years to live with another brain surgery, with more chemo, with more radiation. The longest he could expect to gain was 2 more years. So after the 2 surgeries that he had starting at 18 months old, and this is interesting because the head surgeon who did his 3rd surgery was the assistant on his first
When he was 18 months
surgery.
old, so he had
this
the
gentleman
same
has been in his brain 3 times in 27 years. Aaron is now 27 years old. So he came to us at 25. Surgery scheduled on a Monday. This was a Thursday morning, and he had been studying cannabis and decided that he wanted to give oil a shot. And we sat with his mom and dad, and we told him that we could supply him with that. We would not leave his side, that we would not start him on any kind of treatment and then walk away, and that we would let him make all decisions. We'll go back to the doctors, the hospital. We support you 100% in anything you do. And it can be an expensive treatment for some folks. So we saw that they had, multiple children that were in the family, and it was going to be a burden. So we asked our community to chip in, and I believe we probably raised about $20,000 over the course of the last year and a half, so that their family has not had to reach into their pocket for anything. So Aaron started oil the day he met us, which was a Friday, and he had his next MRI scheduled for 42 days later. 42 days later, his MRI showed a 55% reduction in his grade 4 glioblastoma. These do not go backwards. It is the worst form of brain cancer. There's nothing worse. Most aggressive. It doesn't go backwards. Okay? They were shocked and tried to tell his mom that they thought that some of their medicines were starting to work. And she laughed at them, and said, "Come on." And the nurse totally agreed with her. So we kept him on this regimen of oil, which we got him up to doing 1.5 grams a day. And there is no set protocol for how much to do. It's how much each individual body can take. So we got him up to 1.5 grams a day, which is a good amount of cannabis oil. 42 days later, 55% reduction. Every 2 months he has an MRI. We let him go through 3 cycles, and every time there was a little bit more of a reduction. A little bit more of a reduction. What we accomplished here was called apoptosis. The cannabis oil stops the blood.
Is that called cell death?
Cell death. Programmed cell death. It stops the blood from going to the cancer cells while it feeds the good cells around the cancer. So it feeds everything good, starves the cancer, shrinks it right down. Aaron went through 3 cycles. Aaron went through 3 cycles of getting better and better and better. We lowered his dose so that he could handle his day a little bit better. 1.5 grams is a lot to do. He was functioning okay, but we want him out in society working and living his life. He's 27. Fishing and kayaking. He missed our last patient group because he was kayaking. We're 2 years out now.
No more medicine.
He does have
That's
no
24
medicine.
months.
He went off of 3,500 milligrams of Keppra a day. Every 2 days they took him off of 500 milligrams. They said immediately, oh, he's on the oil, we don't need this anymore. That's the one thing Tough said. So what they did that we like that happened there is they no longer have Aaron on a 2-month protocol. They skipped it to 3 months to do MRIs because they were so confident in his reduction. His last MRI, they said they thought they were only seeing scar tissue left in his head, that there was no more cancer.
That's beautiful.
And it was absolutely stunning.
That's beautiful.
It was absolutely stunning. And
Beautiful.
our whole community did this. Our whole community did this. Melissa and I tried to teach other people to step in and do these exact things because we can't do it alone. And we've got so many great people here that step in and fill in our shoes and help us. That this is no 2-person thing, it's no 5-person thing. This is an actual community that is in building right now. We're building this right now. And so there's a lot of people to thank.